Good. Excuse me. Sorry about that. Good morning, or good afternoon, depending on where you're joining us from in the country. Coach Kevin here, and we're going to go ahead and get started. First thing I want to share with you is my screen and point out that we have a Facebook group that coincides with this meetup group. It has the same name. I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it. We invite you to come join us. Just go into your Facebook profile, look wherever it says search Facebook, type in I want to be really rich, and I do not apologize for it, and you'll be able to find us. Okay, the other way you could find us too is you could go directly to facebook.com/groups/ I want to be really rich. And if you come join us, which we'd be happy to have you, if we have any special announcements, we usually have them pinned to the top. But as you can see, as I scroll down, what we try and do here is, as long as I remember to hit the record button, which I typically do, we record these Zoom meetings and make them available to you. So say, for instance, you're on today, it's your first time, and you're like, I really like that, and you want to go review it. Well, typically within 24 to 48 hours, it's available to you on the website. Sometimes even faster than that, okay? Or let's say that you're with us Monday, Tuesday, oh shoot, can't make it Wednesday, you're here with us Thursday, Friday, and let's pretend we're in the middle of going through a special book or something, and it's gonna take several days to do it. Well, if you miss that day, you can come back and review it, okay? Speaking of special books, I wanna point out that we are going through one right now. We are going through a book that was published quite a while ago. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics. The author is Maxwell Maltz. Let's see, we're on page 89 currently, where we're going to pick up here. Ignore past failures and forge ahead, page 89. But let me show you how we found this. Excuse me. So all I did is I typed in Psycho-Cybernetics into Google, Psycho-Cybernetics PDF, and several of them popped up. I went ahead and looked through them and found one that I liked. So why did I go do it this? Well, I own the copy in Kindle. I own a copy on Audible. And this is a book that I have read before. It's just been several years. And as we were finishing up, the last thing that we were going through felt intuitively through inspiration, revelation, intuition, that this was the path to continue on with. So this is what we're going through. Anytime I can find a free copy of something that we're going through, particularly like if it's a book or something, I like to see if I can find one and then use that free copy, excuse me, and then show you guys where you can go get one for yourself. That way you can follow along with us. And or let's say, again, you've missed some, you can get caught up with us. So let's go back here. And I'm laughing at myself right now because hopefully I remember the page number we were on, but I think it was 89, but we'll see here in a sec. It was not 89. Hopefully it was 80 something. If any of you remember what page we were on, because I had it up here just a moment ago.
I think it was in like 83 or so, or 84.
Let's see here. No, it's a little.
No, we passed that because we did Let Sleeping Dogs Lie.
You know what? Actually, 89 might have been it, just a little further down on the page. So let's see. We'll get it in a second. Not the end of the world. I'm just laughing at myself because I'm like, it's like, okay, I want to remember the page. So here we go. Boom, 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 boom. There we go. Nice and big. So you guys can see it well on the screen. Thanks for helping me find it again. Okay. So first of all, let me see if there's anybody with us today that has not been with us before. Okay, it looks to me like, at least as of right now, we're all good friends. We all know each other. So instead of hopping in and explaining the book and why I chose it, you guys have already been with us as we've been going through it. So I am just going to hop in where we left off and get rolling with it. Ignore past failures and forge ahead. Probably more water will be helpful. All right. Here again, hypnosis furnishes convincing proof. When a shy, timid wallflower is told in hypnosis and believes or thinks he is a bold, self confident orator, his reaction patterns are changed instantly. He currently acts as he currently believes. His attention is given over completely to the positive desired goal, and no thought or consideration whatsoever is given to past failures. Dorothea Brand telling in her charming book, Wake Up and Live, how this one idea enabled her to become more productive and successful as a writer and to draw upon talents and abilities she never knew she had. She had been both curious and amazed after witnessing a demonstration in hypnosis. Then she happened to read one sentence written by psychologist FMH Myers, that's a lot of initials, which he says changed her whole life. The sentence by Myers explained that the talents and abilities displayed by hypnotic subjects were due to a purgation of memory of past failures while in the hypnotic state. If this were possible under hypnosis, Miss Brand asked herself if ordinary people carried around within themselves talents, abilities, powers, which were held in and not used merely because of memories of past failures. Why couldn't a person in the wakeful state use the same powers by ignoring past failures and acting as if it were impossible to fail? She determined to try it. She would act on the assumption that the powers and abilities were there and that she could use them if only she would go ahead and act as if, instead of in a tentative, half hearted way. Within a year, her production as a writer had increased many times. So had her sales. A rather surprising result was that she discovered a talent for public speaking, became much in demand as a lecturer, and enjoyed it, whereas previously she had not only shown no talent for lecturing, but disliked it intensely. Bertrand Russell's method. In his book, The Conquest of Happiness, Bertrand Russell says, I was not born happy. As a child, my favorite hymn was, Weary of Earth and Laden with Sin. Ow. Yeah, I could see why that would not be a happy kid. In adolescence, I hated life and was continually on the verge of suicide, from which, however, I was restrained by the desire to know more mathematics. Okay. Now, on the contrary, I enjoy life. I might almost say that with every year that passes, I enjoy it more. Very largely, it is due to diminishing preoccupation with myself. Good stuff. Very largely, it is due to diminishing preoccupation with myself. Like others who had a Puritan education, I had a habit of meditating on my sins, follies, and shortcomings. Ouch again. I seemed to myself, no doubt justly, a miserable specimen. Gradually, I learned to be indifferent to myself and my deficiencies. I came to center my attention upon external objects, the state of the world, various branches of knowledge, individuals for whom I felt affection. In the same book, he describes his method for changing automatic reaction patterns based upon false beliefs. It is quite possible to overcome infantile suggestions of the unconscious and even to change the contents of the unconscious by employing the right kind of technique. Whenever you begin to feel remorse for an act, which your reason tells you is not wicked, examine the cause of your feeling of remorse and convince yourself in detail of their absurdity. Let your conscious belief be so vivid and emphatic that they make an impression upon your unconscious strong enough to cope with the impressions made by your nurse or your mother when you were an infant. Do not be content with an alteration between moments of rationality and moments of irrationality. Look into the irrationality closely with a determination not to respect it, and not to let it dominate you. When it thrusts foolish thoughts or feelings into your consciousness, pull them up by the roots, examine them, and reject them. Don't plant them again. Do not allow yourself to remain a vacillating creature, swayed half by reason and half by infantile folly. But if the rebellion is to be successful in bringing individual happiness and in enabling man to live consistently by one standard, not to vacillate between two, it is necessary that he should think and feel deeply about what his reasons tell him. Most men, when they have thrown off superficially the superstitions of their childhood, think that there is no more to be done. They do not realize that these superstitions are still lurking underground. When a rational conviction has been arrived at, it is necessary to dwell upon it, to follow out its consequences, to search out in oneself whatever beliefs inconsistent with the new conviction might otherwise survive. What I suggest is that a man should make up his mind and emphasize as to what he rationally believes. And he should never allow contrary irrational beliefs to pass unchallenged or obtain a hold over him, however brief. This is a question of reasoning with himself in those moments in which he is tempted to become infantile. But the reasoning, if it is sufficiently emphatic, may be very brief. Ideas are changed not by will, but by other ideas. Let me repeat that like this. Ideas are changed not by will, but by other ideas. It can be seen that Bertrand Russell's technique of searching out ideas which are inconsistent with some deeply felt conviction is essentially the same as the method tested clinically with such amazing success by Prescott Leckie. Leckie's method consisted of getting the subject to see that some negative concept of his was inconsistent with some other deeply held belief. Leckie believed that it was inherent in the very nature of mind itself that all ideas and concepts which make up the total content of personality must seem to be consistent with each other. If the inconsistency of a given idea is consciously recognized, it must be rejected. One of my patients was a salesman who was scared to death when calling upon big shots. His fear and nervousness were overcome in just one counseling session, during which I asked him, would you physically get down on all fours and crawl into the man's office, prostrating yourself before a superior personage? I should say not, he bristled. Then why do you mentally cringe and crawl? Another question. Would you walk into a man's office with your hand out like a beggar and beg for a dime for a cup of coffee? Certainly not. Can't you see that you are doing essentially the same thing when you go in overly concerned with whether or not he will approve of you? Can't you see that you have your hand out literally begging for his approval and acceptance of you as a person? Leckie found that there were two powerful levers for changing beliefs and concepts. There are standard convictions, which are strongly held by nearly everyone. These are one, the feeling or belief that one is capable of doing his share, holding up his end of the log, exerting a certain amount of independence, and two, the belief that there is something inside you which should not be allowed to suffer indignities. Examine and reevaluate your beliefs. One of the reasons that the power of rational thinking goes unrecognized is that it is so seldom used. Trace down the belief about yourself or the belief about the world or other people, which is behind your negative behavior. Does something always happen to cause you to miss out on just when success seems within your grasp? Perhaps you secretly feel unworthy of success or that you do not deserve it. Are you ill at ease around other people? Perhaps you believe you're inferior to them, or other people, per se, are hostile and unfriendly. Do you become anxious and fearful for no good reason in a situation that is relatively safe? Perhaps you believe that the world you live in is a hostile, unfriendly, dangerous place and that you deserve punishment. Remember that both behavior and feelings spring from belief. To root out the belief which is responsible for your feeling and behavior, ask yourself why. Is there some task which you would like to do, some channel in which you would like to express yourself, but you hang back, feeling that I can't? Ask yourself why. Why do I believe that I can't? Then ask yourself, is this belief based upon an actual fact or upon an assumption or a false conclusion? Then ask yourself the questions. Is there any rational reason for such belief? Could it be that I am mistaken in this belief? Would I come to the same conclusion about some other person in a similar situation? Why should I continue to act and feel as if this were true if there's no good reason to believe it? Don't just pass these questions by casually. Wrestle with them, think hard on them, get emotional about them. Can you see that you've cheated yourself and sold yourself short, not because of a fact, but only because of some stupid belief? If so, try to arouse some indignation or even anger. Indignation and anger can sometimes act as liberators from false ideas. Alfred Adler got mad at himself and at his teacher and was enabled to throw off a negative definition of himself. This experience is not uncommon. An old farmer said he quit tobacco for good one day when he discovered he had left his tobacco home and started to walk the 2 miles for it. On the way, he saw that he was being used in a humiliating way by a habit. He got mad, turned around, went back to the field, and never smoked again. Clarence Darrow, the famous attorney, said his success started the day that he got mad when he attempted to secure a mortgage for $2,000 to buy a house. Just as the transaction was about to be completed, the lender's wife spoke up and said, "Don't be a fool. He will never make enough money to pay it off." Darrow himself had serious doubts about the same thing. But something happened when he heard her remark. He became indignant both at the woman and at himself and determined he would be a success. A businessman friend of mine had a very similar experience. A failure at 40, he continually worried about how things would come out, about his own inadequacies, and whether or not he would be able to complete each business venture. Fearful and anxious, he was attempting to purchase some machinery on credit when the man's wife objected. She did not believe he would ever be able to pay for it. At first, his hopes were dashed, but then he became indignant. Who was he to be pushed around like that? Who was he to sulk through the world, continually fearful of failure? The experience awakened something within him, some new self. And at once, he saw this woman's remark, as well as his own opinions of himself, were an affront to that something. He had no money, no credit, and no way to accomplish what he wanted. But he found a way, and within 3 years, he was more successful than he had ever dreamed of being, not in one business, but in 3. The power of deep desire. Rational thought, to be effective in changing belief and behavior, must be accompanied by deep feeling and desire. Picture to yourself what you would like to be and have, and assume for the moment that such things might be possible. Arouse a deep desire for these things. Become enthusiastic about them. Dwell upon them and keep going over them in your mind. Your present negative beliefs were formed by thought plus feelings. Generate enough emotion or deep feeling, and your new thoughts and ideas will cancel them out. If you will analyze this, you will see that you are using a process you have often used before: worry. The only difference is you change your goals from negative to positive. When you worry, you first of all picture some undesirable future outcome or goal very vividly in your imagination. You use no effort or willpower, but you keep dwelling upon the end result. You keep thinking about it, dwelling upon it, picturing it to yourself as a possibility. You play with the idea that it might happen. This constant repetition and thinking in terms of possibilities makes the end result appear more and more real to you. After a time, appropriate emotions are automatically generated: fear, anxiety, discouragement. All these are appropriate to the undesirable end result you're worrying about. Now change the goal picture, and you can see as easily generate good emotions, and you can as easily generate good emotions. Constantly picture to yourself and dwelling upon a desirable end result will also make the possibilities seem more real. And again, appropriate emotions of enthusiasm, cheerfulness, encouragement, and happiness will automatically be generated. In forming good emotional habits and in breaking bad ones, Dr. Knight Dunlop, or said Dr. Knight Dunlop, we have to deal primarily with thought and thought habits. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So are you oriented towards thinking about what's going to go wrong? Or are you oriented towards thinking about what is going to go right? Are you oriented in thinking about what you don't want to have happen? Or are you oriented towards thinking about what you want your life to truly be like and what you want to have happen? What rational thought can and cannot do? Remember that your automatic mechanism can as easily function as a failure mechanism as a success mechanism, depending upon the data you give it to process and the goals you set for it. It is basically a goal striving mechanism. The goals it works upon are up to you. Many of us unconsciously and unwittingly, by holding negative attitudes and habitually picturing failure to ourselves in our imagination, set up goals of failure. Did you know you're setting up goals to fail? Interesting. And we're pretty good at achieving those when we set them up, because we don't doubt. We don't say, well, how am I going to fail? how is it going to happen? We picture the wrong end result. Also remember that your automatic mechanism does not reason about nor question the data you feed it. It merely processes it and reacts appropriately to it. It is very important that the automatic mechanism be given true facts concerning the environment. This is the job of the conscious rational thought: to know the truth, to form correct evaluations, estimations, opinions. In this connection, most of us are prone to underestimate ourselves and overestimate the nature of the difficulty facing us. Repeating that's important stuff. In this connection, most of us are prone to underestimate ourselves and overestimate the nature of the difficulty facing us. Always think of what you have to do as easy, and it will become so, said Emile Coué. I have made extensive experiments to discover the common causes of that conscious effort which freezes the thinking mind, says psychologist Daniel W. Joslin. Practically always, it seems to be due to the tendency to exaggerate the difficulty and importance of your mental labors, to take them too seriously, and fear they will find you incapable. People who are eloquent in casual conversation become imbeciles when they mount the speaker's podium or speaker's platform. You simply must learn that if you can interest the neighbor, you can interest all the neighbors of the world and not be frozen by magnitudes. You never know until you try. It is the job of rational, conscious thought to examine and analyze incoming messages, to accept those which are true and reject those which are untrue. Many people are bowled over by the chance remark of a friend. You do not look so well this morning. But if they are rejected or snubbed by someone, they blindly swallow the fact that this means they're an inferior person. Most of us are subjected to negative suggestions every day. If our conscious mind is working on the job, we do not have to accept them blindly. It ain't necessarily so is a good motto. It is the job of the conscious, rational mind to form logical and correct conclusions. I failed once in the past, so I will probably fail in the future, is neither logical nor rational. To conclude, I can't in advance without trying, and in the absence of any evidence to the contrary, is not rational. You should be more like the man who asked if he could play the piano. I don't know, he said. What do you mean you don't know? I've never tried. Decide what you want, not what you don't want. It is the job of conscious, rational thought to decide what you want. Select the goals you wish to achieve and concentrate on these rather than upon what you do not want. To spend time and effort concentrating upon what you do not want is not rational. When President Eisenhower was General Eisenhower in World War II, he was asked what would have been the effect upon the Allied cause if the invasion troops had been thrown back into the sea from the beaches of Italy. It would have been very bad, he said, but I never allow my mind to think in that way. Keep your eye on the ball. It is the job of your conscious mind to pay strict attention to the task at hand. You know, where are we? Time. Yeah, I'll go ahead and read this. Keep your eye on the ball. It is the job of your conscious mind to pay strict attention to the task at hand, to do what you're doing and what is going on around you, so that these incoming sensory messages can keep your automatic mechanism currently advised of the environment and allow it to respond spontaneously. In baseball parlance, you must keep your eye on the ball. It is not the job of your conscious rational mind, however, to create or to do the job at hand. We get into trouble when we either neglect to use conscious thinking in the way that it was meant to be used, or when we attempt to use it in a way that it was never meant to be used. We cannot squeeze creative thought out of the creative mechanism by making conscious effort. We cannot do the job to be done by making strained conscious efforts. And because we try and cannot, we become concerned, anxious, frustrated. The automatic mechanism is unconscious. We cannot see the wheels turning. We cannot know what is taking place beneath the surface. And because it works spontaneously in reacting to present and current needs, we can have no intimation or certified guarantee in advance that it will come up with the answer. We are forced into a position of trust. And only by trusting and acting do we receive signs and wonders. In short, conscious rational thought selects the goal, gathers information, concludes, evaluates, estimates, and starts the wheels in motion. It is not, however, responsible for results. We must learn to do our work, act upon the best assumptions available, and leave results to take care of themselves. So points that you want to remember, case histories that you want to remind yourself about, and boom, this is where we'll go ahead and pick up tomorrow, page 100. All right. A few more people joined us since we got going with this. Everybody looks familiar, so you guys know the drill. Here's your time to share what you'd like to share or ask whatever you'd like to ask. And I would ask if you have anything good to share you all do, probably, but Stephanie and or Tanya, since we've been together for some coaching earlier this morning, if you maybe want to talk about some ahas that you've come up with as a result of what you've been learning and you're willing to share those, that would be terrific. However, anybody and anyone can share whatever they want to share or ask whatever questions they want to ask. I know you two got to ask a lot of questions already earlier when we were going through that, but maybe you could share some of the things that you picked up as a result.
I'll just say that I was laughing or smiling when you were reading the part about your will won't change the situation. I can't remember the exact wording, but because it was earlier in this discussion, but it was so poignant to what we were talking about earlier and my own personality and trying to force, push, all that I want to change and having to sit back. And it was like, oh my gosh, we just talked about that. And now he's reading it in this book. And I just thought it was really cool.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephanie.
And I had the same reaction. I cannot believe, well, I should believe because it's grace, right? That leads us to your reading today that further emphasizes exactly what we talked about. That when you try to push and you feel that frustration, that's that sign where you need to kind of let it go and rethink. And I appreciate very much the wording that was said. And I will actually read this again later because this is extremely beneficial to someone like me, as you know, that tries to be in control, but not in the right way.
Awesome. Thanks, Tanya. Okay, anybody, any comments or questions?
Hi, Kevin.
Hi, Takira.
I think people like to bother you.
You're not bothering. Well, actually, it's more bothersome when nobody asks me
That's
anything.
what I mean. I think we all want to say, but but I wanted to say that the part that Tanya spoke about with the fear, I wrote that down because I think that's what stops me sometimes from manifesting is because I'm in that space. So I wrote those words down and then I put the opposite of it, which would be happy and cheerful. And that's when I think I'll get the things I want and at the same time be happy. I don't know if that's correct, but
It is.
I'm trying to focus on
Good feeling first, good result second. Not good feeling first, good result second, right? Which for chicken or the egg? We want good results and then I'll feel good. Give me a good result, then I'll feel good. Give me a good result, then I'll feel good. And God and the universe say, feel good, give you a good result. Feel good, I'll give you a good result. Feel good, I'll give you a good result.
That's simple. And we make it's I'm used to thinking first and then feeling from the thought. But I think this is easier to feel it purposely. Just like raise those vibrations, I think. Like
Yeah.
for me, I'm gonna go out and have fun today. I did not expect to do that. But I'm like, oh no, don't push. Yesterday I was pushing and striving and didn't go to sleep until 5 a.m. So I said, oh no, we have to fix this today. And I'm coming to Kevin's class early. And so I can have a great manifestation.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. Any other questions or comments?
Hi, Kevin.
Hey, Everett.
Yeah, I think I hit around page 77. That was important for me. That I think it's crippled me for a big period of time. I think it was a part that said I sometimes see people as unfriendly, and I kind of always had that perception. And that's one that I'm about to go to the chapter and kind of go back and realize, because even the business I do is in like real estate, I still have that sort of issue that still give me a little bit like people are unfriendly. People, it's like sometimes I oversense what people are about to say or feel, and sometimes you're right, but it's not the good way to be.
Right. And like a dog, we pick up on a vibration, but we can actually in our mind rehearse before we go into a situation and create a different vibration ahead of time. And a lot of times people, even if they were going to be negative to begin with, for some reason they don't want to be negative. They don't know why they're changing that thought, but it's because your vibration has been lifting that up before you showed up. And just, experience for yourself that, hey, the people that I deal with, not the rest of the world, the people that I deal with tend to be friendly with me because I come from a place of caring, I come from a place of heart, and I come from a place of wanting to assist. I know that as a real estate investor, I'm helping solve people's issues and problems, and I make their life much better, and it gives them a chance to move on. Yes, I understand that the reason that I'm getting a good deal is probably because they've brought a situation upon themselves through the law of attraction that needs to be turned around. But I could definitely be the start of the turnaround for their life so they can move forward in a positive direction. So I'm going to assume, God, that you will go ahead of me, help soften the heart of whoever it is I'm speaking with. And then I make the promise to you, God, that I'll do my best to do the best for these people and work together with you as my business partner to come up with solutions that are profitable for us and are also a good outcome for them.
And can I say, Kevin, that actually hit it on the nail. That's actually happened to me unconsciously, even after I read this chapter. Even though I've been, like I said, studying and keeping positive toward people and situations, I do notice myself getting along with people better. Conversations are flowing. So a lot of times, I guess people may be reading, I don't know, maybe they was reading me at the same time as being defensive. And because I wasn't open enough, I may have vibrated them to a negative way. Because now I'm getting less and less of that, and I notice it. So
That's awesome.
I totally understand what you're saying, because that hits it on the nail. So it is improving. But when I seen that chapter, I said, this is what's been haunting me. And I really never paid attention. I pay attention to it, but now I shouldn't. I should think positive. I should think more in a different vibration to them, and
Yeah.
better come to me. So I thank you very much.
Absolutely. You're welcome, Everett. Uh-huh. All right. Any other comments or questions before we take a break till the next one? All right. Well, I will be back, different link. Is there anybody that does not have the link that would like the link to the meeting that I run at noon my time, which is whatever it is your time?
Hey, Kevin, I have a
Yeah.
question on that.
Okay.
Somehow I must have mixed. Does your wife do a San Diego meetup as well?
She's the one it's her profile that I use it through. It's me.
So the one that says, it has the same title as this, and then it has a dash and it says SD, meaning San Diego,
Uh-huh.
is the same, because I got on that link yesterday, but it said there was another meeting running, and I feel like I've messed something up on this.
Well, you might have got, so there's the link you're on right now. Okay. Here, I'm just going to do this that way. Let me just make it simple. So the link you're on right now will always get you on at 10 o'clock Monday through Friday.
Right.
Now, what I'm going to do here, just give me a sec to get it done, is I'm going to pull the link to the noon one, which is noon Monday through Friday. Because I can't use the same link. But if you were trying to get into an incorrect link at the same time we had something running, it wouldn't have let you in because a meeting was already happening at the time.
Okay. And I also used to always get an email that
I know, because, and so this changed too. That email was me, well, not individually. The way that Zoom is set up is it lets me email like 5-6 people at a time.
Uh-huh.
So it took me a half a freaking hour to send you guys reminders every day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So what I started telling people a couple weeks ago is sometimes I'll do it, sometimes I won't, but understand I will always be here unless I tell you I won't be here.
So just save the link that I have. Okay.
Right. Yeah, because everybody's like, oh, can you send me reminders? It's like, look, we're all adults. Come on. Have I ever not shown up without telling you guys I wasn't going to be there? And that's never happened.
Okay.
Pretty consistent with doing what I say I'm going to do. If something does, if I don't show up, look for an old message and it probably, oh, there's where he said he wouldn't be here. And it'll come out through Zoom because you're already registered. I'm not going to go into Meetup and say I'm not showing up because that would just take me forever.
Gotcha.
But let me get you the link to the next one, which here we go. Boom. And let me go into chat and make sure this is going to everyone. Yep. So there you go. So I just sent it in chat. So you might want to click on it, now before I, close the meeting, if anybody wants that link. And then the same thing, you register one time and then you're always registered. And then all you got to do is show up.
Okay, thank you. I just grabbed it.
Cool.
Make sure I've got the right thing going on. Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I'm going to let you guys go. Those that choose to come later, I get it and will enjoy it. And if you're not, obviously, I'm not upset. I don't expect anybody to have as much commitment, or some of you guys have jobs and stuff to deal with and other things. I get it. But I'm making it available because I'm trying to make it possible for everybody to receive what they, I'm trying to give as much as I can. There you go. All righty. See some of you in a little while, and the rest of you, hopefully I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks.